दी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate. Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back at time now for the nation's sharpest opinion tonight. And tonight I want to tell you why we cannot trust Donald Trump. I've been watching his statements, and my criticism when he announced his ceasefire has gone viral in parts of the United States, and sections which are anti-Trump are using it for their own reasons. But the fact is, I have been following Trump for a long time, what his rights, his statements, even before he became a full-time politician. I can tell you the man has an attention deficit disorder, which is extremely serious. Plus, besides that, he is almost semi-permanently in a state of falsehood. I genuinely think so. He believes in overstatement and hype, and he does not care about the facts. At this point of time, he has a single-minded pursuit to rescue the suffering and disastrous situation of the American economy, which is why he'll compromise with anything and anyone. But I want to start by putting out the soundbite that he made right now. He's just made a U-turn. He keeps saying, oh, you know, I would have a lot of, I sorted the situation between India and Pakistan, but that is not the fact. He's also said right now, he said that I did not actually do it. I mean, I didn't do it. First he said I have nothing to do with it, 10 days back. Then he says 4 days back, I did it. Then he says everywhere, I did it, I did it, I did it. I closed it, I'm great. And now he says, I didn't really do it, but I take some credit for helping in it. There is no consistency between any of his statements, viewers. And he needs to be clear. He needs to have a single line. How can you be President of the United States of America and keep changing your position? And therefore, it's terrible that there are political parties in India like the Congress party, which I frankly think is a pro-Pakistan, pro-Turkey party, which is trying to use his comments to put pressure on our government. That's terrible. Secondly, viewers, now he's taken a clear position against India. He wants to have a trade deal with India, and then he makes public statements that I called Tim Cook of Apple, and I told him, do not build any factories in India. How can you have a one-way relationship with a country whose leader is saying that he's told Apple, he's put a gun to Apple's head, saying don't build in India. And he said that as a result of their discussions, Apple will be upping their production in the United States. So he hasn't even been able to put pressure on Apple. This is also the reality. He talks too much. It's a lot of bluster. As of now, Trump is a failing politician. He has failed to put pressure on Putin, so he's getting frustrated. He cannot even put enough influence on Zelensky. And he cannot even put enough influence on Tim Cook of Apple. That's how weak he is. Somewhere in reality, you can go and say, I don't want to see you building in India, but Donald Trump, Tim Cook and Apple are going to build in India, come what may. That's how weak you effectively are. Let's listen to what he had claimed.
We have Apple, as you know, it's coming in. And I had a little problem with Tim Cook yesterday. I said to him, Tim, you're my friend. I treated you very good. You're coming in with $500 billion, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India. You can build in India if you want to take care of India, because India is the highest, one of the highest tariff nations in the world. It's very hard to sell into India. And they've offered us a deal where basically they're willing to literally charge us no tariff. So we go.
First of all, that claim that he's saying that India is not going to charge any tariff. I'm asking you, viewers, and if someone can put this sense into Donald Trump's head, This is not how presidents are supposed to behave. You are supposed to put on record what is verifiable and authenticated. You cannot be going and making these claims and then making a fool of yourself the next day when you turn your own claim around. First you said, I carried out the ceasefire. I did it. I said, and these are his words, come on guys, let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. And let's do it. And because I'm Donald Trump, everybody said, yes, we'll do it. I mean, how non-serious can a president get? I mean, this is ridiculous, the way he's behaved. And now he said, I did not say I did it, but I helped it. This is what he said now. The operational word, take 2 bites here, producers, take 2 sound bites. First run the sound bite where he said, I did it. And then run the sound bite of May 15th. I don't want to say I did it. Right? The first one was a tweet where he said, I did it. No, he's also said on several other occasions, including during his visit to Saudi Arabia. You may not have the soundbite right now, but he said, I did it. And now he says this.
Say I did, but I sure as hell helped settle the problem between Pakistan and India.
Audio down. Now he says, I did not say I did it, but I sure as hell helped. Sure as hell helped. Now that's a white lie. How can you do this? What is the American media doing? Why doesn't the American media ask Donald Trump? You're embarrassing us. One day you said, I did it. Next day you say, I did not say I did it. I don't know if anyone in the White House can trust Donald Trump at all. He keeps changing his opinion. Maybe that's why he's having problems with Elon Musk. Now the fact is, what is Donald Trump's problem with India? You see, viewers, he's a struggling economy, very majorly in debt. It's not a strong economy. It may be a large economy, but there's a huge difference between a strong economy and a large failing economy. And according to the IMF's World Economic Outlook 2025, we're surpassing Japan. We've become the 4th largest economy, right? And we have a nominal GDP of 4.187 trillion. We are going to expand by 6 to 7%. And everybody knows where that compares with the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States is in no position to even look at consistent growth in the future. So he's flailing his hands about. And in the process of flailing his hands about, he has gone and done a deal with a terrorist who is now the leader of Syria. I would like to run the visuals of him meeting Syria's so-called interim president. His name is Ahmed al-Shara. Now this man is a terrorist, and Donald Trump was sitting sheepishly with the terrorist yesterday. And he said sheepishly with the terrorist, and he said, I'm doing this all for Saudi Arabia. So tomorrow if Saudi Arabia tells him to sit with any terrorist group, Donald Trump will happily sit with the terrorist group. And when he was asked, what did you think of this terrorist who you met? I hope I have that soundbite. He was asked, what do you think about the terrorist who you met? He said, he's a young, attractive, tough guy. He said he's a young, attractive, tough guy. So tomorrow, if Osama bin Laden was around and Donald Trump were to sit with Osama bin Laden, he would even sit with Osama bin Laden. And therefore, people in America need to be very careful about this person. He said he finds this ex-terrorist a young, attractive guy. What do you find attractive about him? You put $1 million bounties on his head till recently. And now you're sitting around with him and you're saying you're doing the Saudis a favor by doing a deal with a person who was the head of a terrorist group called the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS. Viewers, this is a very strange individual. I personally think that his MAGA policy is all conceited. Let's see how much he achieves on that. Make America great again. But I'm saying this tonight that if we are truly a country which puts national interest first, we must always remember America has never been a consistent friend of India. And Donald Trump needs to do a lot more to earn our trust. Recently, there was an event at Stanford University by the students of the Indian Association there, and I spoke to them. I will put out, and this happened all before we struck Pakistan. I'll put out a video of that because you'll know I'm consistent in my position. And I said at that event at Stanford, I said that it cannot be a one-way relationship with the United States of America. It will take us a lot of time to remember or to forget that Seattle and CENTO of the 1950s gave Pakistan the impetus to be aggressive to India. They are the ones who did business with Osama bin Laden and killed Osama bin Laden. Obama's AFPAC policy was directly aimed at squeezing India, right? And in 1971, Nixon sent the 7th Fleet to the Bay of Bengal. And therefore, we need to be very careful, very, very, very careful when it comes to Donald Trump. A leader without an ideology, who is the President of the United States, is a danger to the world. I was personally shocked when Donald Trump praised the Syrian president, who was declared as terrorist, and the USA had a $10 million bounty on his head. And he says he's a young, attractive, tough guy, a fighter with a very strong past. Can you hear this? This is Donald Trump's description of a terrorist. Americans, wake up. People in India, wake up. This is Trump's description of a terrorist. Let's hear this.
Right. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy. Right. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy.
Young, attractive guy, tough guy. Now, all of this, some point of time, is going to come back to bite Trump. Right now, he's been elected. He is still in his first year. He's still in his honeymoon period. But Donald Trump must know this. You need to be consistent with people if you want their friendship. And we must not sign a trade deal with the United States that compromises any of our interests. We must be tough with them. We must start calling out Trump. It cannot be source-based information. The government must go on record and contradict what Trump is saying, and I'm glad they've begun doing so. But we need to understand that when Donald Trump is sitting there between MBS and a terrorist watching on, that this leader cannot be trusted to look at our interests. So for all those people who think that a long-term strategic relationship with America has already understood, I want you to know this. We are competitors to America and competitors to China. When it comes to China +1, when we surpass Japan's growth, right? USA is an aging population like Japan. We're a young, vibrant country. We are getting into a competitive phase with the rest of the world. America sees us as an economic threat. A lot of things they are doing right now may seem impetuous, but the fact is, long-term, the American establishment sees us as an economic threat as much as the Chinese do. We have no friends but ourselves. That's why I believe in nation first. That's why I've launched the Nationalist Collective, ladies and gentlemen. We can't trust anyone. We can do business with everyone as long as they are not ideologically inconsistent with us, as long as they don't compromise us ethically. But we cannot trust anyone, no one, but we are on our side. Let's debate.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier.
Donald Trump is obsessed with being viewed as a peacemaker and a unifier. He's desperately tried to project himself as one. From tall claims ahead of elections of ending the Ukraine war in 24 hours.
We'll have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It will be settled quickly. And it will take me no longer than one day.
To sharing bizarre ideas of converting the Gaza Strip into a Riviera.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East. It's not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing it.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
Despite the MAGA madness, Trump has miserably failed in securing peace of any kind.
You're right now not in a very good position.
From the very beginning of the war,
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm
Yeah,
very
you're playing
serious,
cards.
listen.
Even in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack, the Trump administration was careful in calibrating its response.
Very close to India and very close to Pakistan, as you know. They've had that fight for 1,000 years in Kashmir, but they'll get it figured out one way or the other.
From saying that India and Pakistan would figure it out and extending full support to Prime Minister Modi, America took a complete U-turn of its initial position. From saying that they had no business interfering between India and Pakistan to claiming long nights of mediation, Trump tried very hard to shape the narrative that it was his trade deal that helped broker the understanding.
My administration helped broker a full and immediate ceasefire, I think a permanent one, between India and Pakistan, ending a dangerous conflict of two nations with lots of nuclear weapons.
Directly countering Trump's claims, New Delhi immediately rebuked Washington without mincing any words or leaving any room for ambiguity.
We have a long-standing national position that any issues pertaining to the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir have to be addressed by India and Pakistan bilaterally.
The issue of trade did not come up in any of these discussions.
However, this too has not deterred Trump from further peddling his agenda.
And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully.
Trump's recent actions vis-a-vis India have drawn even stronger scrutiny about his true intentions.
I had a little problem with Tim Cook yesterday. I said to him, Tim, you're my friend. I treated you very good. You're coming in with $500 billion, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India. You can build in India if you want to take care of India, because India is one of the highest tariff nations in the world.
Trump's tariff gambit has pushed him into a corner, and his country is demanding results. All Trump cares is to crack a deal.
We are talking more and more about Victory Day because we were a big part of it, and so was the UK. It was the same day that we signed a tremendous trade deal for both countries. Yesterday we achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed.
Trump no longer cares who he's doing business with. He can even heap praises on terrorists that once carried bounties by America if it helps him crack a deal.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness. Right, I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy.
The US administration is trying desperately to grab some credit for Trump for stopping a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. But the commander-in-chief seems to have understood that he went too far.
I don't want to say I did, but I sure as hell helped settle the problem between Pakistan and India last week, which was getting more and more hostile. And all of a sudden you'll start seeing missiles of a different type. And we got it settled, I hope.
Can India now Trump?
जब अमेरिका और भारत साथ मिलकर काम करते हैं, यानी मागा प्लस मीगा, तब बन जाता है मेगा पार्टनरशिप फॉर प्रॉस्पेरिटी.
So we're going to try and figure out in this section how to look at Trump, and I have a fantastic panel tonight. Abhijit Chawda, India, is one of their best geopolitical analysts. Ambassador Deepak Vora, thank you, sir. General G.D. Bakshi, all celebrities on my program. Rajat Sethi, well-known analyst and columnist, and Rashmi Samant is an author, analyst, and former Union President of Oxford University. Kishore Subramaniam is a political commentator and financial expert. And my first question is to Professor Christine Fair. Professor Christine Fair, I just saw a video. Did I lose her there?
Nope, I'm here.
You're there? Okay. Professor Christine Fair is a professor at Georgetown University in the Edmund Walsh School of Foreign Service. And she's really, really deep into the region. She knows Pakistan well. She knows the terror infrastructure there well. She knows the mind of Pakistan. Because if you have to understand the mind of Pakistan, you have to understand the terrorist groups and you have to understand the army. And therefore, she can begin with our perspective on that. Christine Fair, Dr. Fair, thank you for joining us. You know, we have a focus in this program tonight, which I'll start with taking the focus away from your area of specialization to trying to understand Trump. Because Trump is, it's very difficult, let me tell you this. Good luck. Good luck to all Americans and know what they're dealing with. See, the thing is this, that he said, first, we have nothing to do with what's going on between India and Pakistan. And then somewhere, there was a calibration towards saying that, you know, I can solve a 1,000-year-old problem. We've just been independent for not a little over
not even 80 years.
Not even 80 years. But he wants to solve a 1,000-year-old problem. The man has absolutely no idea of history. The worrying part is, Dr. Fair, he's not embarrassed to showcase his ignorance. Having said that, now he says, first he said, I solved it, I solved it, I solved it. He goes to Saudi, I solved it, goes to Qatar, I solved it. I'm the man who solved it, I fixed it, I solved it, I stopped the missiles, I stopped the nuclear war, Trump the Great. And now he says, he just said today, I'm not saying I solved it, I'm not saying I did it, but I sure as helped settle the issue. That's a big U-turn for the president, Christine Fair. How does one read what he's trying to do here?
So I'm an American. I think it's well known that I'm not a fan of Trump. And I'm living through this administration with white knuckles. I think this has to be seen in context of the way he speaks about a whole range of issues. Like he'll make a pronouncement, then he'll back out of it. He'll say he never said what he clearly said because we have video footage of him saying it. So I think the Indians are experiencing what Americans are experiencing every single day. I can't parse it any more than you can parse it. But what is clear is that while President Trump, I can't even put those two words together without choking, and Vice President Vance were making similar statements. What was happening was that Marco Rubio was talking to his counterparts on both sides. Tulsi Gabbard, also a person, not a fan of her, she was also talking to her counterparts, and there were counterpart conversations happening with DOD leadership as well. I can't imagine having a conversation with Pete Hegseth. I can't even imagine what that conversation may have been like. So while President Trump and Vice President Vance said that this has nothing to do with the United States, in point of fact, his cabinet was very much involved. What I will say just more generally, though, is that every time there's a new administration, this is not unique to Trump. Every time there's a new administration, there's a learning curve on India and Pakistan. You remember on 9/11, George W. Bush, he didn't have a clue about India and Pakistan. He had zero people in his cabinet that were clueful about it. So every time we get a new president, obviously Biden's an exception because he spent 8 years as Obama's vice president. We have this problem. It's made a lot worse because the way in which Trump has chosen his cabinet has not been on the basis of expertise, which to some extent he had in Trump 1. His first cabinet was comprised of people who had expertise. Now this cabinet is comprised basically of people who do Chaploosi to Trump. So it takes a very general question or a general problem and really exacerbates it.
But there's been a shifting position here. I would like to ask our producers to pull out an old soundbite. I think it was a podcast or something which Trump did, maybe just before he got elected, where he said how much he admires Modi and how he offered to help in a problem with Modi, allusion to Pakistan, and Modi apparently told him, don't get into it, I can handle it. So has the equation shifted? Though for us, Christine, let me draw the others into this. For us, the issue is not Donald Trump. Frankly, Donald Trump is America's problem. We are concerned about the equation with the United States of America. We are in the middle of a negotiation for a tariff deal. My concern is that it doesn't go down very well. And, you know, Deepak ji, we are not pushovers here. I think he's being very patronizing. He's being very rude. He's been very condescending in a way that even the Biden administration was not. And he's giving a feeling that he can push India. I called Tim Cook and I said, don't you dare invest in Apple in India, right? Marco, wouldn't it be nice, Marco, to get Modi and Shehbaz Sharif to have a meal together? This is condescending language. And then, Deepak, he has said, India has offered me a zero tariff deal. I don't think we've said anything so far. But he's made an announcement. Is he trying to set a narrative or push himself into a corner?
But thank you very much. Always a pleasure. I just wanted to tell Dr. Christine Fair that I've always admired you. What a pleasure to listen to a legend. That is what you may deny it.
She understands Pakistan very well. In fact, in a recent podcast she did, the Indian podcaster asked her, do you think there are terrorists in Pakistan? And I don't think she could take the question. She said, I have written many books on the subject. You're asking me if there are terrorists in Pakistan.
What a lot of my friends in the United States, and I've served there, we have 2 children who live there, go frequently. They say that he has, I don't know if this is correct, they have what is called a narcissistic personality. And some of the traits of that personality, I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I'm the brightest. He may not be the handsomest, that privilege goes to me. I'm sorry, at 74 years, I'm allowed to say that. But what he talks about is, he changes, and it's also accompanied by a fragile memory. This is what the psychologists say, what the medical books say. So I believe he actually believes that he's been sent here to change the world, to save the world. We should not take it very seriously. We should not get upset. But at the same time, remember, sir, that he is the president of the most powerful country in the world, the country that we all admired. In my youth, going to America was a dream. It still is for a lot of people. And so the most powerful country, a knowledge superpower, economic superpower, etc., etc. So therefore, I think what we are doing, we are responding in the best possible way. He says what he wants. We don't say that he is speaking the untruth. We just put across our point of view. I believe that's a sign of mature diplomacy, although it can be frustrating at times. But then we are the children of Chanakya, and we understand how to deal with people who can be unpredictable. Now, meeting the Syrian fellow who till not too long ago was a terrorist. Now he becomes a smart young man, etc. I don't know what he'll say. I remember he used to talk about the North Korean fellow also, Rocket Man. My finger is bigger than your finger. My button.
But the point is, it is a very dangerous position for the world. And on this I'll go to General Bakshi. I'll get everyone in.
Sure.
If the leader of the United States of America has no qualms about officially doing business with terrorists. Now, you can say that this is the way the CIA has always operated. Geostrategy is not about ideology. But I'm getting a feeling, General Bakshi, that Trump, in his naivete about diplomacy, geostrategy, and international affairs,
he knows nothing.
You see, he knows nothing about these subjects, but he also has contempt for them. Therefore, he feels that anything that pushes a business line is fine. So what he's done by ratifying the Syrian interim leader is extremely dangerous, and he can go ahead tomorrow and do a new deal with the Islamist world. He's just announced a $250 million deal to supply to Turkey. On the sidelines, this was also announced yesterday. So he is not putting ideology, geostrategy anywhere. He'll do a business with anyone. He will sell arms to North Korea if it makes business sense for him. This is a reality, and if Americans feel that I'm exaggerating, go back and see what he's done and consider what he could do. North Korea doesn't have the money, but he will do a deal with them if necessary. So we are the ones who we need to watch out. General Bakshi.
Thank you, Arnab. Arnab, the simple fact is that under his predecessor, Joe Biden, India-America relationship had reached a nadir, last seen in the presidency of Richard Nixon when he sent the 7th Fleet to the Bay of Bengal during the Bangladesh war, right? Joe Biden said, if you are not with us, you are against us. And he went on the war path with India, and especially in his last few years. He had the regime toppled in Bangladesh. He, took $1 billion from us for the engines of the LCA.
Correct.
And then refused to give them to us, stabbing us in the back, more or less. You know, he encouraged, Pakistan to get tough with us. He wanted to create a cookie land in the northeast. My God, things couldn't have gotten worse. So when Joe Biden was shown the door by the people of the United States, frankly, there was a sigh of relief in India. Thank God he's gone. Because he was becoming, a disaster for Indo-American relations. I'm not mincing my words. So we had great hopes when President Trump came in. Why? Because he had Tulsi Gabbard, because he had Marco Rubio, because he had, Patel, Kash Patel as his director, FBI. There were a whole lot of pro-India people, ethnic Indian people in that cabinet, right? So
that's where we go wrong, General Bakshi. We think that ethnic Indian people are pro-India people. We are very wrong on that always.
We began on a good note when...
We think Kash Patel is FBI director, so we have a control on the FBI. Absolutely wrong, sir.
And we were told, okay, here are the engines for the LCA. And the engines for the LCA came, right? A great change from the Biden era, right? But I don't know, once again, we seem to be slipping back to the ways of the deep state. Once again, American planes land with special ops officers into Bangladesh. So I think you can forgive us for being a bit confused. You can forgive us for being a bit confused.
Sir, I'm sorry, but are we being? Are we discounting the possibility? Sir, General Bakshi.
Because Indians are a damn rich community inside the United States.
No, sir, General Bakshi, can I have the audio? Is he listening to me?
Campaign. And that's why...
General Bakshi, may I come in, please?
Indo-Americans in his cabinet.
Sir,
right?
General Bakshi.
Hello?
General Bakshi, can I come in and ask you something?
Me?
Yeah, General Bakshi, can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir? There's one point I need us to consider. You see?
Yeah.
General Bakshi, see, the point is Trump only knows business. That's the feeling that I am Donald Trump. I only know how to do deals. That's also a narrative that is being set, right? Now, Trump's, connect the dots, viewers. Trump lauds the Syrian president as a tough guy and agrees to lift sanctions on Syria. The tough guy he's referring to is Ahmad al-Shara. He's been the leader of the terrorist group HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, right? He's also desperate to do a deal with Iran. He's been traveling around the Muslim world. He says, I will give everything up if required to do a deal with anyone as long as it works for America at this point of time. But also, the US and China are working very closely to reach some kind of a trade deal. They did something in Geneva after 2-day-long trade deals where Jamieson Greer, the US trade representative, was sitting with the Chinese. Now, he was sitting with the Chinese, Abhijit. He was sitting with the Chinese when we were at war with Pakistan. The Chinese want a backhand in all of this. The Chinese could nudge Pakistan, have a lever over Pakistan. And that, I need to understand, Abhijit, what is the reason why the US changed its position towards Pakistan overnight and started this business of announcing the ceasefire and then hyphenating the relationship between India and Pakistan, almost equalizing the two countries. Could it be a backroom understanding with the Chinese?
You see, last year, Arnab, I had said that Donald Trump will be able to become president only if he kisses the ring of the deep state. And it looks like that's precisely what's happened, because you can see that his policy is now going back to the old days of the US unconditionally supporting Pakistan and pulling Pakistan back from the brink whenever it's about to go under. So Trump seems to have some kind of understanding with China. I mean, he had unleashed 145% tariffs on China, but all this time it looks like there was some kind of backroom negotiations that were going on with the Chinese, and they seem to have reached some kind of understanding, which also seems to have included Pakistan. So he seems to have some sort of understanding with Xi Jinping about Pakistan, about India, and it's clear that he's unhappy that India is negotiating hard in the trade talks, and for Donald Trump, everything revolves around trade did. He's also unhappy that India may possibly have destroyed F-16s in the air, maybe on the ground. Maybe possibly US technicians who are always babysitting the F-16s may have been involved in the Indian missile strikes. He's unhappy that India nearly destroyed Pakistan. And that's why he seems to have completely made a 180-degree turn against India. He seems to be very unhappy with India. He's telling Apple's CEO Tim Cook to not invest in India and so on. Now, that's the kind of thing that Trump does. You know, he has been a miserable failure thus far in his presidency. He has failed at resolving the Ukraine conflict. He has failed at having any breakthrough with Iran on the nuclear issue. He has failed at Gaza. His economic policies have been a complete failure. He has thrown the global economy into chaos.
Yeah.
And now he's dealing with Al-Qaeda veterans, terrorists, Al-Jolani, and so on.
But this U-turn that's happened here is indicative for me, Kishore, that something happened in the last 10 days. This U-turn cannot happen because Donald Trump is looking 20 years into the future and seeing India as an economic threat. No, I don't think Donald Trump, who has anyway got an attention deficit problem, can look 5 years or 1 year or 2 years into the future. Something's gone on in the back room. And China is in a position to influence Trump, Kishore. He wants a deal with China. China is not backing off. China is very much in a position to use any lever on Trump. And Trump, instead of using trade for diplomacy, as he claims, is actually trading diplomacy for trade. This is my view. He's trading diplomacy for trade rather than the other way around. Kishore, your reading.
Good evening to all my panelists, Arnab. So let me tell you the first things first. So India is a country which is the largest population in the world with a population of 1.44 billion. And any manufacturer of any product understands that there is gravitational pull of the consumer. And in the 17th century, a person from England named Isaac Newton did say that the apple does not defy gravity. So let's be very clear about it that Apple cannot deny its presence in India and move away. So let's be clear. And if I had to add to the fact of Newton's third law, the same person, that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So my first point is that India cannot be just taken easily because we are a very large population and the world's largest with the consumption, which will attract any single manufacturer. Point number one. Point number two, your question, answering your question that is there is something proxy. For me personally, my viewpoint is this war is a proxy war because Pakistan is no match to India in its economic might or in its military might. So it's a no match for India versus Pakistan. There is always a proxy war, and that's why probably you saw global leaders coming in and announcing a ceasefire when India had actually seized the position and fired Pakistan. Having said that, let me tell you, there is a lot of geopolitics going on amidst business because the China plus one policy is what will benefit Apple. And remember, if we have offering counter tariffs to America, America will not find it easy because we are an emerging global power. And this is the moment of truth for India. You know, where we are saying to America, we are going to impose tariff and we are not going to take it silently. So in the geopolitics of business, no businessman would like to lose his money. And I'm sure for a politician, it is his vote bank balance, while for a businessman, it is only his bank balance.
A point I'm making here tonight, Kishore.
India has a lot to gain.
Kishore, I think one would issue a warning for Donald Trump on this because I don't know the truth in this, Christine, but some people said there are personal angles that Donald Trump has in Pakistan, crypto and stuff like that. It's not verified for me, I don't know. Having said that, I want to go back to you on your theme because now you said, and you've been saying this, that Pakistan will strike India again. They're not going to give up terrorism. They've been hit hard, but they will continue to attempt to strike, in India. What you talked about is asymmetric warfare is actually terrorism. Now, given the fact that that's your reading, in the context of Donald Trump's position, puts India in a very difficult spot, doesn't it? I mean, Christine, we have to really take measures to defend ourselves. But can you tell me why that was your reading, why that was your conclusion about what Pakistan's likely to do?
So I view the Pakistan army, and then I have a hard stop. I apologize.
No problem.
I view the Pakistan Army as an insurgent organization when it comes to India. I mean, its goals are, obviously it wants to change maps in Kashmir. It can't do that conventionally. So if you think of the Pakistan Army as an insurgent organization, it's kind of helpful to see what they do and how they do it. So it's very difficult to defeat an insurgent, nor can an insurgent defeat its foe outright. So what Pakistan does is that it simply has to demonstrate that it hasn't been deterred by India. And it does that by conducting these episodic terror strikes. And these episodic terror strikes serve Pakistan's goals in a number of ways. One, they galvanize international action that legitimizes Pakistan's position on Kashmir. We've seen that happen here with the rehyphenization of the India-Pakistan relationship, the acknowledgement by the international community that there is a Kashmir dispute. These all serve as Pakistan's strategic goals. Also, India is perforce. It has to ramp up its counterinsurgency grid. It has to be ever more repressive in Kashmir, which continues to put a wedge between Kashmiris and the government that claims to represent them. This is also a strategic goal for the Pakistan Army. And then most importantly, what the Pakistan Army needs the most is an India that poses a threat to it. If there weren't a standing threat from India, the Pakistan Army would not be able to exist at the size at which it exists and with the ability to interfere with Pakistani politics whenever it wishes and to have an enormous command of state resources. So all of these strategic aims of the Pakistan Army are serviced by these terrorist attacks. And while the dust may have settled, mark my words, within the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to see another one.
One last question. I know you have a hard stop. So my only last question to you is, what then about being a member of the Quad? What about the trade deal? What about the strategic understanding? What about the defense deal? What about all of that? Has that all been forgotten in the last 10 days or so, 2 weeks or so? Because it was always said that America needs India as a counterweight to China. But
I don't think that calculus has changed. I mean,
the
U.S.-India I don't think that's changed at all. I think the U.S.-India relationship is going to get past these malapropisms by Trump because, I know that one of your panelists has a different view. The fact is that U.S.-India relations have been thoroughly bureaucratized within our system. It is bipartisan, which is one of the few bipartisan policy issues there is, apart from this egregious support for Israel. Yeah. So I'm pretty confident that the relationship gets past these malapropisms.
Yeah, but thank you very much, Christine Fair. I'll let you go. You stayed beyond the time you allocated. Thank you for that. General Bakshi.
Thank you.
General Bakshi, before I come back to you on this, I want to get a word in from Rajat Sethi for his perspective on this, then Rashmi, then we come back to General Bakshi. Rajat, to you first. The subject is, can you trust Trump? What's your take?
So, Arnab, you did a fantastic one-on-one video also on Trump, which unfortunately you had to pull down, but that was the essence of everything.
I've not pulled down anything. No, I've not pulled down and don't get, it is there. You can see.
Okay.
Yeah, I have not pulled down.
I think that's also part of this PSYOPs that Pakistan is doing.
I have not pulled down anything.
But again, I haven't checked, but I've seen that word, that passion with which you said every single thing.
Yes.
It was all true. The problem is that the South Asia office of White House, that's my bigger concern. I'm not too concerned about what Trump is saying. He might want to win a Nobel Prize here and there, and he can do whatever he wants to. But the core custodian of the policy on South Asia remains with the South Asia office within the White House. The people who are currently manning that, and those who were manning even under Biden, have been below par.
I will come.
And this is the reason why Bangladesh had such disastrous experimentation by the Americans. And look at where Bangladesh is. It's just a dictatorship right now, right under our noses. And this is the problem. A bunch of people who have entered into that space do not understand the dynamics. Therefore, the feeding mechanism that goes into Rubio's assessment of situation or into J.D. Vance's assessment of situation is all colored. And this is my much more bigger worry while on one hand, America would want, trade deals and F-35 deals and all kinds of business deals, but they are missing out that the sentiment, countrywide sentiment that has been created over the last 10 days has brought the trust of common Indian onto Americans at absolute bottom level. One of the surveys that was published says that almost 70% of Indians favor Russia. It's only 12% who favor
I've got
America.
a poll right now, Rajat, where I think 75% are saying you can't. Can I put the latest poll? 75% of people, no, 90% of people on the poll, live poll right now, are saying you can't trust Trump. Right now.
The same as not
That
trusting
is,
America.
see, this is
Not
what
trusting
the
America, yes.
true reflection of the common people is. So if the people-to-people bonding has been broken down, these are permanent changes. And permanent sentiments are formed during the emotional time when India was under crisis. And that's when our worldview is getting shaped. We've understood that Russia did not come in and give us moral.
General Bakshi.
America did.
General Bakshi. So this is the way things are placed. Things have genuinely changed, and atmospherics, General Bakshi, does matter, doesn't it? I mean, it does matter. People are angry, it matters. People are angry with Turkey today, it matters. People are angry with America, it matters. It can't be dismissed as an emotional reaction.
We are almost at war, and quite obviously we have to be very, very, very alive to who is with us, who is against us.
Who's not, yeah.
If Joe Biden could tell us you are with us or against us, and if you are not with me, I'll declare war. I'll topple the regime in Bangladesh, I'll help Pakistan, I'll swindle you of $1 billion, take a promise to give you the engines for the LCA, for the, the 5th generation aircraft, and then backtrack on that deal, swallow your money and give you nothing for 2 bloody years. Our whole Air Force modernization program got onto the back foot. Then the interference in Myanmar, then the talk of the creation of a Christian cookie land in our northeast. My God, that was the nadir of our relations. So that's why I said we had hoped that things would change with Donald Trump, who had taken a lot of help from wealthy Indians to win his election campaign. And we had hoped that with Tulsi Gabbard, with Kash Patel, with J.D. Vance, with an Indian wife, Indian spouse, and Indians all over his cabinet.
I have a feeling, General Bakshi.
Change for the better.
General Bakshi, I have a feeling. I have a feeling here. It's a gut feeling.
At the end of the day,
it's a gut feeling. I've been thinking, General Bakshi.
And we are finding that there is a moral equivalence trying to be created between India and Pakistan.
Correct. I've been having this feeling.
A moral equivalence, a geostrategic equivalence between India and Pakistan.
No, sir, there isn't. But what's going on is important. Before I go to Rabinder Sachdev, who has his own theory on this, I have a feeling.
Equate India and Pakistan.
Yeah, I have a feeling here, General Bakshi, that it's possible, Rashmi, that Trump is using India as a lever to negotiate with China.
Absolutely, Arnab. What Trump has basically essentially done with this entire large struggling economy is decided to turn geopolitics into a big business negotiation. What he doesn't understand is that being a bully or being brash, especially when countries are going through war and trying to, use one as leverage over the other, is only going to have disastrous outcomes, because geopolitics is not business. It has certain essence of business, but politics is separate. There are emotions involved. There are long-term associations involved. What happens in the future as well needs to be taken into consideration. But he's all about what's in it for me now. He's thinking short term, he's thinking brashly, and he's thinking just like a businessman would. And I also think that he's being rather careless because this is his second term and he's not up for election again. So the entire rhetoric that he pulled during elections of having, this sort of intolerant policy towards extremism, so on and so forth, goes out of the window. He doesn't care about that anymore.
I will go to Rabinder Sachdev, and Abhijit, I'm just coming to you after that, Mr. Deepak Vora. Rabinder Sachdev has another angle, and that's why I brought him in last minute right now, on America's interest in Pakistan. Could you share that, please? A couple of times in the last week you have done that with me, but I thought it was topical for today's discussion.
Thank you so much, Arnab. A pleasure, of course. I mean, yeah, of course, one is, Pakistan has its own geographic location, which it parlays into its position with whosoever may be. But if you're referring to perhaps, and we are reminding that Pakistan has been, cozying up to the inner circles of Trump via Steve Witkoff. Okay, and even in this Arab tour, you'll see the various projects which are being announced in Saudi, in Qatar, and tomorrow in Abu Dhabi, and of course, Arab investments into America, and also usage of Trump's company, World Liberty Financial, its cryptocurrency, for some investments. Now, with respect to Pakistan, I think that we had referred to the other day, Trump himself is a partner. Eric is a partner. Eric is the guy who owns a business part of the Trump empire. And his son Barron is a partner in a company known as World Liberty Financial. And Steve Witkoff's son is there. They were there in Pakistan 10 days ago, signing up a deal with something known as the Pakistan Crypto Council.
Has this been reported in open source?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, yes. And we were first on your show itself, we were mentioning. So Pakistan has been cozying up and, working on various angles. The issue with, the point is, and I would like to highlight one other thing about Trump. Yes, it is business. But at the same time, if we look, keep aside India and Pakistan, whatever business he's doing, he's pulling it to America's advantage. Panama Canal, business, whatever, but right now...
No, but this particular angle, I'm short of this particular angle adds a new dimension. We'll have to look at open source and check. Now, my friend Abhijit is good at connecting the dots. Before that, last word from you, then I'll give the very last word to Abhijit tonight. Deepak Vora, can we trust Trump? Your 1 minute take on yes, no, if not, why not?
If you're talking about a person, an individual called Donald Trump, perhaps the answer is no. But we've been through this earlier. So you remember 71 when we got very angry with them, then in 1999, then the whole Nambi Narayan thing, But each time, the brand equity between India and the United States is so deep that we are able to overcome temporary aberrations as exemplified by the present occupant of the White House.
Okay, so that's clear enough. Sir, I will also not forget when Clinton took a pro-Pakistan line. I will also not forget when we were encircled, when we refused to sign the NPT. I think we have to stand up to America. Abhijit, connecting the dots. The overwhelming opinion on the program is you cannot trust Trump. But can you connect the dots, as you very well do in your podcast usually, and tell us the big story you take away, your takeaway from this conversation?
Right. So the takeaway is that it's very difficult for India to trust Trump for very good reasons. I mean, he wants us to buy F-35s. He wants us to buy all kinds of weapon systems from the US. Yes. Now, the US weapon systems typically have backdoors and they have kill switches. Now, if they're going to do this to us vis-a-vis Pakistan and vis-a-vis trade, then imagine the kind of leverage they can hold over India when we have more and more of their weapon systems in our military arsenal. So it becomes very difficult for India to going forward purchase US weapons. We may be forced to look at other nations, perhaps Russia and perhaps France. So that's the takeaway for me, that now Trump and the US are going to be seen as extremely unreliable by the current Indian administration. That's how I see it going.
So in summary, I will say that while Trump claims to use trade for diplomacy, what he's actually doing is trading diplomacy for trade.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow is my very first Nationalist Collective Conclave. I'm very excited. That's at 4 o'clock tomorrow. We'll go live. And for everyone tonight, I request you all, with folded hands, to be members of the Nationalist Collective. The only purpose of this is to spread the philosophy of nation first. See you tomorrow. Goodbye. Thank you.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।